Hi, I'm Rabbi Alon Ferenczi, speaking to you from Heska Emunah Synagogue in Knoxville, Tennessee, a part of a continuing series of Torah talks delivered midweek in preparation for Shabbat, the Sabbath. This week we read from Parashat Shemini. I want to share with you a story about human tragedy and resilience. Simon and Reuben are brothers. Simon is the younger. He's the chief counsel for a multinational corporation. This multinational corporation is responsible for a lot of advances in healthcare and the environment and in other places, in human welfare. Unfortunately, one of its products is also responsible for the deaths of two of Simon's nephews, Reuben's children, Reuben's boys, Simon's older brother. The multinational conglomerate claims that the deaths of Reuben's sons, Simon's nephews, was due to misuse of a product. As its chief counsel, Simon is duty-bound to defend the corporation, noting that most of its products are good and helpful, and that Reuben's children's deaths are, so to speak, an exception that proves the rule. Reuben, of course, is dumbstruck. What would you do in such a case? Now, of course, I'm not going to tell you the name of the corporation, but the truth is, it's not a corporation. This was a parable I thought about not long ago about God in this week's parasha. This week, the younger brother Moses defends God in the face of the death of Aaron's two sons, who die while attempting to offer sacrifice, perhaps an unwanted, perhaps an inappropriate sacrifice before God. They are consumed in fire. What do you do in the face of another's tragedy? How do you respond? Do you try to advocate or apologize or make sense of? Aaron himself, like Reuben in the story I told you, is dumbfounded, struck silent, in awe and fear and trembling and complete incapacity to respond to the death of his sons through what he or others might have assumed was a natural desire to serve God. Moses tries to vindicate God. How do we live with that? The world is full of suffering, even evil. How do we make sense of it? Do we try to claim that God is good and just at all costs and don't admit that there is real suffering in the world? Maybe we're forced to live with some of the discrepancies between God's goodness and the world we see and not try to explain it away as Simon does in the parable, as Moses does in the Torah this week. Maybe sometimes the honest result is to sit in defeat, to mourn the loss of innocence, to mourn the grief, the death, the loss, to grieve, and perhaps to admit that there's no good, no fair solution. Aaron later on refuses to eat of the sacrifices. In the ancient world, this was a practice, I believe, in Greek called theastai, dining with the deity, sharing in food and commensality with God. Maybe that's the answer when we see and are stricken by suffering. Maybe we have to sit in shocked silence and somewhat in passive opposition to God, forcing God to see that the world is not yet just, is not yet repaired, is not yet whole, and that we and God are part of the solution. Shabbat Shalom. If you enjoy talks like this, please do like, share, and subscribe to Eclectic Cleric on YouTube. God bless.